Question number 6, Honourable Barbara Edmonds.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To the Minister of Finance, does she stand by her statement yesterday, quote, the Treasury got its forecast before the election plain wrong, unquote? If so, why should the public believe future Treasury forecasts?
Honourable Nicola Willis.
Mr. Speaker, yes, and I would note that a lot of other people were wrong too. To the second point, it's not a matter of belief. People can be guided by economic forecasts as they are by weather forecasts, but neither of these is a guaranteed thing. They are predictions of the future, not reality.
Supplementary. Does she stand by her statement yesterday that the pre-election fiscal update, which is independently produced by the Treasury, was, quote, doing all sorts of things to make the books look better than they actually were, unquote?
Absolutely.
Supplementary. Are the Treasury's forecasts always based on, quote, our observations of the economy alongside the government's fiscal policy decisions, unquote, as stated in every Treasury fiscal update?
Yes, Madam Speaker, I'm not really sure what the member's point is. As I've tried to explain to her, forecasts are put together. In the case of the pre-election fiscal update, it was completely wrong for a combination of reasons. And if the member is of the view that forecasts are somehow going to be 100% accurate, then she is wrong.
Supplementary. Were her policy decisions the reason why the surplus was pushed out to 2031 in the half-year fiscal update 2024? Good question.
No, Madam Speaker. I think the member is missing the wood for the trees. In the recent downturn between the September quarter of 2022 and the September quarter of 2024, real GDP per capita, so our economic output per person, fell by 4.8%. That is an extraordinary decline, more than the global financial crisis, and happened across that 2-year period, both when the last government was in power and when this government was having to clean up the mess of the decisions they made during that period. So it is ridiculous to suggest that New Zealand went into a downturn because of policy changes made in the last budget. The member should be very aware that in the years prior, under a national government, per capita GDP rose. Actually, the decisions that your government took drove up inflation, interest rates and strangled this economy.
Supplementary. Were her policy decisions the reason why growth forecasts fell at the half-year fiscal update 24?
No.
Supplementary. Why won't she accept responsibility for her policy decisions that have seen growth forecasts fall, the surplus pushed out and debt rise, or is she blaming Treasury for being overly optimistic again?
Madam Speaker, she needs to listen, because what I've said is very clear. And actually, I'd encourage you to go and read the budget documents where the Treasury set this out in significant detail and go to great lengths to explain that over successive updates they've unwound assumptions because of overestimations in the past of trends coming out of COVID to do with labour productivity, the tax to GDP ratio and other things in terms of misreading the economic cycle, which they've now put into their forecasts. What I take responsibility for is being a government that came in, did what was needed to clean up their messes, has inflation back in target, has had successive interest rate reductions and has got growth occurring on our watch and forecast to be much higher. Because the thing is, if you're a group of people who oppose fast-tracking the very developments that will create jobs and growth, you don't have an economic mantle to hang.
Thank you. I just did manage to hear the answer to that question, so interjections are fine. I think that was a bit of a barrage and it didn't come from just one side.